Okay, I'd like to call our May 21st school board meeting to order. Want to first start the meeting out by thanking the students and staff with our Pathways program for coming and doing poster board reception of the projects they've been working on, and we'll be hearing from Allison Woods and Beth Levine and some of the students hopefully, but it was a great way to spend the last hours to see all the wonderful topics students chose to do research on this year. So thank you for that. And then the other thing I just wanted to start the meeting off with is really a big thank you from the board to all of the different staff and parents, community members, partnerships that we have for putting on many events in the last couple weeks of school here. There's been a lot of end of the year field trips and concerts and honors nights and just many, many activities to choose from. And I know us as board members have received invitations and been out to many schools doing lots of fun activities as well as with our own children. And so it's just always a fun time of the year as a parent as well as a school board member to be getting out in the schools, or I'm looking over at Principal Clive being out on the boat with her students, ordained students with River Quest. So just a big thank you again for parents, staff, volunteers, and students, and again, community members for the many ways you help celebrate the work that we're doing in our schools. So thank you. We want to get started then with roll call, and Chair Gorham, or Clerk Gorham, can you do the roll call, please?
Thank you, Chair. I am present. Member Kirby. Here. Chair Loeffler-Kemp.
Here.
Member Lofald.
Here.
Member Oswald.
Here.
Member Sandstead.
Here.
Member Trinka.
Here.
Superintendent Gronseth.
Here.
Assistant Superintendent Horton. Here. Deputy Clerk Erickson. Secretary Dolans. Here. Secretary Thibault. Here. And Student Reps Emma Natali. Here. Vanessa Farrell. Here. Chair, we have a quorum.
Great, thank you. Okay, if we all could stand for Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Okay, we want to get started first by approving the agenda. May I have a motion to approve the regular school board meetings for a motion to approve the agenda for today?
So, second.
Okay, moved by Member Sandstead, seconded by Member Lofald. Any discussion? Okay, all in favor of approving tonight's agenda, please say aye.
Aye.
Okay, motion carries 7-0. And then the next item is reading and approving the minutes for the regular school board meeting of April 23rd. Can I have a motion to approve? Okay, moved by Member Sandstead. Could I have a second? Seconded by Member Kirby. Any discussion? Okay, all in favor of approving the regular school board meeting of April 23rd, please say aye.
Aye.
Okay, motion carries. And now we're going to jump into the school and community recognition. So if members can join us on the floor.
Yes.
members of the board, I'm pleased to introduce Ms. Poppenberg, Ms. Moore, Ms. Kurth, Mr. Hoppy, and Mr. Hinsall, Assistant Principal at Lincoln Park Middle School. The TRIO Talent Search Program and the St. Scholastica serves students in grades 6 through 12. They recently presented the Lincoln Park Middle School 6th grade team with their Friend of TRIO Award. Here are some excerpts from the presentation. Many believe that 6th grade is too young to begin encouraging students to think about their educational plans after high school. That is not the case for the 6th grade team at Lincoln Park Middle School. This student-centered, dedicated group of teachers understands that early exposure to future possibilities can create excitement and self-confidence, and they share our belief that higher education can be within reach for all students. This team has not only given class time to recruiting campaigns and career workshops, but they also consistently excuse students for group meetings and college campus visits. Some of these teachers have been supporting the efforts of Talent Search for over 20 years of its existence at Lincoln Park and have helped us guide over 800 TRIO students through 6th grade. Talent Search has been extremely fortunate to have such a fun, patient, and passionate group of professionals working besides us. And we want to especially thank Ms. Moore and Ms. Kurth for their 21 years of service for the TRIO program, and Ms. Moore, for 32 years of service in our school district. Thank you very much for all that you do.
Yes, I do. Yeah, during.
Okay. Okay, got it. Okay, great. We're going to now jump into the audience portion of our meeting. And just a couple comments about our public comment time. First of all, if people just got here, you can sign up to speak over on the table over to the right there. A couple things, information to know when you sign up to speak at board meetings. Persons wishing to address the school board, sign in. If you have any handouts for the board, please give them to the school board secretaries located in the back of the room, right there. Persons addressing the board will speak in the order in which they signed up. Each person addressing the board will have 3 minutes. Persons addressing the board may not merge their time in order to allow one person to speak for more than 3 minutes. And the clerk of the board will start the spotlight timer at the start of each person's time. A green light means go, a yellow light means to start wrapping up, and a red light means to stop. And persons addressing the board shall confine their comments to matters pertaining to the agenda or relevant to matters of administrative and district concerns. And Member Gorham, would you now read the 11 Tools of Civility, please?
Thank you, Chair. The 11 Tools of Civility. This school board recognizes 11 tools of civility that will provide increased opportunities for civil discourse in order to find positive resolutions to the issues that face our community. These tools include pay attention, listen, be inclusive, don't gossip, show respect, be agreeable, apologize, give constructive criticism, take responsibility, be honest and care for others, show your evidence, share your reasoning, community vision, and priorities for Duluth schools. We will build on our shared beliefs and values of unity, high achievement, and responsible use of resources to create Duluth public schools and classrooms that are safe, supportive, and inclusive. We will work to inspire every student to achieve their potential and prepare students to lead productive, fulfilling lives as citizens of Duluth and the wider world.
Great, thank you, Clerk Gorham. And again, if you still would like to sign up, you can sign up over on the right there. And our first speaker tonight will be Bernie Burnham.
Well, hello everybody. So I also want to speak to the Pathways program that is represented here tonight by all these fabulous boards, and then we had some students here earlier. I'm just going to tell you a few things, and then I know that Beth and Allison are going to come up and talk about it a little bit more. So the teachers that are in the program at Danfeld are Allison Wood and Ed Lewis, and over at East are Susan Schmidt and Samir Sheikh, and of course they work in partnership with St. Scholastica, and their students go out to Laura MacArthur and Myers-Wilkins to interact with our second grade students. So this a few years ago, Ann Crafter and I were down at MEA and saw this program with Dr. Bianco and thought this was a great idea and knew that it was something we'd all been interested in doing in Duluth, is creating a Pathways to Teaching program. So happy that they're here tonight and great to see all the, take a look at the topics if you get a chance. They are pretty amazing. Next, I want to talk about the Wear Orange for Kickoff for National Gun Violence Awareness Day, which is on Friday, March 31st. You're going to hear about this probably a few times tonight, but want to let you know that it's going to happen at 4 o'clock at City Hall, and our Duluth Federation of Teachers is a sponsoring organization. We're going to encourage folks to wear orange on that day, and so we hope you all will join us in that. Last week, we had a retirement celebration. We had about 20 teachers who were there, and we had some guests that came and joined us too, which was very nice for our teachers to see. Superintendent Bill Gronseth, Assistant Superintendent Jeff Horton, and Rosie and David were there too. So it was a fun night, and people got to share their stories about why they came into teaching. It was a good evening for everybody, and a fun thing that we'll continue to do in the future. The last thing I'm going to talk about is the officer elections that we've had recently for the DFT. As you may or may not know, I think most people know now, but I will be moving on to a new position with Education Minnesota. I'm the Vice President-elect, and I'm very excited about that work that I'll continue to do on a statewide level and at the national level. So we have a new president who will be here at some point when he's ready, Ethan Fisher, leaving our DFT in very good hands, I think. I'm happy that he is going to be our president. We also had elections for 3 vice president seats. We had 11 people put their name in to run in that election, which was pretty amazing. That's a first that I've seen in my 20 years of being in Duluth. So for the seats that were open, we have Jim Olson, who is a teacher at Myers-Wilkins. Cindy Jamara is returning to the board. Ed Lewis from Danfeld. And then we have a couple of places because we have some seats that were midterm. So Dean Harold will be returning as well from Lincoln, and Stacy Achterhoff from Myers-Wilkins. So I think our board is going to it's going to look a little different, but I think these are all great people who are going to continue the great work that we've put in place the last number of years. And I want to thank you, after being in Duluth for 20 plus years, because of course I started when my oldest daughter started kindergarten 27 years ago, but I want to thank you for all the work that we've done together. Duluth will continue to be my home. I'll be back and forth from St. Paul, but I'm not going away, and I will be involved still. This is my community, so thank you for all you do.
We are going to have some other opportunities to celebrate Bernie and the role that she's provided as a DFT president in the next few weeks. But it's been great, Bernie, to have you come up at our meetings every month and bring teachers with you from across the district and students with you across the district, and really share the many incredible things that are going on. So we really appreciate your presence at these meetings, as well as the many ways you've partnered with us as administrators and as school board members. So thank you again. Yeah. Okay. The next speaker is Beth Levine.
Hi, I'm an instructor at the College of St. Scholastica in the School of Education, and Bernie kind of introduced our program. St. Scholastica has only one other college in the schools course besides this Pathways to Teaching course, and we saw this as a real opportunity to contribute in the field of education. I'm sure you all know that most of the teachers in the country are white. The vast majority of teachers are white, which poses some problems for all students. Grow your own teacher programs are, and I'm going to read off of this, frequently cited as one of several potential solutions to address teacher shortages and the teacher diversity gap. Most high school grow your own programs have a GPA requirement of 3.0 or higher, have a traditional Eurocentric curriculum. They focus on child development, and they're not really informed by a critical theoretical lens, and yet they claim to be designed to attract students of color. We were lucky to partner with Dr. Margarita Bianco, who has Pathways to Teaching is her trademarked program, and she's designed a little bit of a different Grow Your Own Teacher program. So there is no GPA requirement. Students who are marginalized typically may have had some pretty bad school experiences, not because they're not bright or willing or eager, but if we eliminate kids with lower than 3.0 GPA, we're not capturing maybe who we need to. The Pathways to Teaching program, the curriculum is focused on equity and justice. It's informed by research on what attracts teachers of color to the field. It is student voices centered, and it is informed by a critical theoretical framework such as critical race theory, critical pedagogy, and socio-political development theory. And so who would we look for to take this class? Career interest data was looked at. Students who need direction, who may not have yet identified career interests. Students who may be underperforming. Dr. Bianco suggests you look at students who need a boost to keep them going and engage them, or need college credit. Students who are leaders. Which students have demonstrated leadership, even if perceived in negative ways, and who else is males. Be intentional about recruiting men to go into teaching. So we partnered with Denfeld and East, and this has really been, I don't know, a really remarkable thing for all concerned. The Scholastica wrote a grant to the Minnesota Department of Education last year to help us get this off and running, which supported 2 teachers at Denfeld instead of 1. They had a big group, 30 kids, and it supported them to work together to co-teach, which worked really well. And one teacher, part of the grant supported the second teacher at Denfeld, and then there was a teacher at East. So Allison and Ed Wood were at Denfeld, Susan Schmidt was at East. I'm a little concerned that it's a pretty tough class to teach with one teacher, and both classes for next year will be bigger, and Allison can speak to that. So I would hope that somehow the board and the district could support this. Everybody's trying to diversify the teaching field, and this is a proven way to do it, and boy, it's been it's been really amazing for Scholastica to work with these students. Some of our students got involved too, so it's just lots of benefits all over the place. So thank you for letting me speak a little bit, and I'll turn it over to Allison.
Hi, I'm Allison Wood, one of the teachers at Denfeld, and thank you everybody for listening and looking at the posters. We're going to leave them here so you can look at them over the next few days. My biggest push is that we have been so proud to watch these students, especially students that have never done something this level before, to watch them learn how to annotate a college textbook, learn how to summarize a lit review, and get stuck in the moment of I can't do this and push through. And the fun has been watching them work with their second graders. The challenge has been working through the college readiness piece, but they were so proud last night to show their posters to the community, and they said today, it was just so cool. All the grown-ups that came actually cared. They were asking real questions, and they were listening to us so carefully. And I thought it was just really amazing. They were so proud of themselves and also very relieved, but I think very proud. So our biggest excitements are that we have a number of our juniors who are going to be creating an internship around this for next year, the work readiness experience. And so we're going to continue to capture our juniors as seniors with some excitement, working with Brad Vietz and AEO kind of things to get that going. So have that on your radar because we're going to have to do some problem solving around how to grow that. And then the second piece is just class numbers. As we look towards doing this, doing the no GPA requirement, no testing requirement is huge because we got kids that would have been cut out. But we're going to continue if we really recruit who we need to recruit. That's going to be huge, and you can't teach 25 kids how to write a lit review in a month with one teacher and 25 kids. So we are problem solving around that in terms of tutors and some students maybe from from CSS coming, and but we're really going to have to figure out how to support that as we look forward to the future. We are super thankful to CSS for their support. They have been amazing, exciting, and really a great resource. And anybody who got an email from me asking for data or help, thank you for following through on that. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Allison, again, for organizing this reception tonight. The next is Greg Jones and Peter Follingsdorf.
I'd like to be on that side. You be on that side.
I'll be on this side, all right.
Okay. My name is Greg Jones.
And my name is Peter Frolingsdorf, and we are the co-directors of the Duluth East Drama Department.
And we're just coming off a show that we were really proud of called The Curious Incident of the Dog in the Nighttime, which featured the challenges and triumphs of a main character on the autism spectrum. And we had a lot of staff support and community support for that show, and we were really proud of the job our students did in that performance.
Our winter production was The Lost Boy, which was the biography of J.M. Barrie and how he wrote Peter Pan, and we were runners-up to the state competition.
And what we're here to talk to you about is a program from the Hennepin Theater Trust called Spotlight, and they come out to you invite them to come out and evaluate a show, and we invited them to come out and evaluate our musical this fall, Bonnie and Clyde, and we are just going to kind of quickly tick through some of the people who were recognized during that performance.
So we were recognized in many categories, but the names that were given to us as outstanding performer in a lead role were Lainey Goey as Bonnie Parker and Ezra Prickett as Clyde Barrow.
We also had some honorable mentions, and that was Kate Brinkert as Blanche Barrow and Lucy Selmala, the young Bonnie.
We received an honorable mention in the technical leadership from our stage manager, Jameson Paquette.
And some of you may know his mom. And we also had an honorable mention in our technical aspects of our show, like our lighting and sound operation. And so we have a list from them. So it's Ian France, Joey Warner, Mariah Loeffler-Kemp, and John Throw.
We had some shout-out awards, which are new awards that were given to students who caught the attention of the evaluators, and that was Hans Halstead and Nick Van Lowe.
And our overall production was ranked as an outstanding. And so we were really proud of that. we liked going through the process. It's kind of cool to have some outsiders come in and look sort of behind the curtain and in front of the curtain and give you some feedback about what it is you're doing well and where you could strengthen your performance. And it's a program that's available to anyone. They really like going to outstate performances, and so we don't always do it. We haven't done it since the Adams family. Yep. So.
This award has allowed us to bring students to the state level to perform at the Minnesota State Theater on June 11th. And so Lainey Goey and Kate Brinkert and Lucy Samala will take part in the performance that evening. They'll go down in the morning and then perform in the evening at the state level with other kids from across Minnesota.
All right. Thank you very much.
Thank you for your support.
Thank you so much. And they didn't even let us know what the name of the show is for the fall, so I guess we'll just have to sit on the edge of our seat. Okay, the next speaker is Doris Melkmuth. Sorry if I pronounced that wrong, Doris.
Nope, it was perfect. And I'd like to thank everybody on the school board and superintendent for all the excellent work you've done on behalf of kids in Duluth. But I'd also like to thank you specifically for your work and your commitment to equity. And I guess I just want to point out that I'm here for two reasons. One is that as a volunteer for Loaves and Fishes, we really get to know kids who have to struggle. And the other reason I'm here, when I really think about it, is that I loved school. I just enjoyed so much. I loved to learn, and I especially liked it because I could do pretty well, pretty much effortlessly. That was a real treat. But when I'm at Loaves and Fishes, I see that these other kids, they don't learn effortlessly. It's really humiliating. It's often boring and frustrating and kind of painful for them to watch other kids around them do well, and they have to struggle hard to just get by. And so what I want to ask you, and I'm sure you have thought about this from time to time, is why would a kid like that grow up and come to a school board meeting? We just don't have their voices here in front of you the way we have so many talented, wonderful kids here. And, parents who had a similarly great experience in school. So as much as I loved it, I can't help but say to myself, how do we, really put a priority on equity, and how do we bridge that gap? So what I'm here to talk about, and first of all, I just want to say this pathway stuff sounds terrific, and I'm so grateful it's in place. But what I'm thinking about is hiring the next superintendent. And I'm thinking about that early because sometimes it's just sort of, here's how we do it. And I think that, you've shown a commitment to equity. You've passed the tool. And I think I'd really like to see how are you going to use that framework to start right at the beginning. How are you going to say, can we hire an agency, a hiring headhunter firm that has people of color, that have a track record of going into other communities that might be more diverse than Duluth? And are you able to convince that company that you just don't want to have them list equity as one of the qualities, but that your intent, that you're going to insist upon it? And so for all of those kids who aren't here today, I'm asking you to put this at the top of some attention and to really program your hiring with equity in mind. Thank you.
Thank you, Doris. The next speaker is Sarah Milkasel. I'm sorry.
Hello, everyone. My name is Sarah Mikesell, but you can call me whatever you want. My family lives here in Duluth. I have a 7th grader at Ordine East and a 2nd grader at Homecroft. I'm also a volunteer with Moms Demand Action for Gun Sense in America. I'm here to tell you some things that you may already know, but firearms are the 2nd leading cause of death in American children and the leading cause of death for Black children in the U.S. Nearly 1,500 American children under the age of 18 are killed with guns every year. That's an average of 4 children every day. When American children are killed with guns, the majority of those deaths, 53%, are homicides. That's nearly 800 children per year. Additionally, 600 children die by firearm suicide each year, and nearly 100 are unintentionally shot and killed. Moms Demand Action for Gun Sense in America has developed a great educational program whose goal is to reduce kids' access to unsecured guns. The Be Smart campaign focuses on helping adults keep kids safe when guns are present, and I have some information for you, which I'll leave with the secretary. Unfortunately, here in Duluth, we are not immune to gun violence and threats of gun violence, as I'm sure we're all well aware. And I want to thank the district as well as the school board for everything that you do and have done to keep our kids safe. As Bernie mentioned, National Gun Violence Awareness Day, followed by the Wear Orange Weekend, is coming up next month. And on May 31st, all are welcome to meet on the steps of City Hall to kick off the Wear Orange campaign. During Wear Orange, everyone who believes that we can and must solve the problem of gun violence in America will take action and stand together in a bold statement of resilience and fortitude as we advance our efforts. I understand you will be considering a resolution to acknowledge the National Gun Violence Awareness Day that's coming up, and I'm so pleased that this body commits to reduce gun violence and keep our kids safe. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you, Sarah. Okay, the next speaker is Jessica Olson.
Hi, everyone. So yes, I'm Jessica Olson, and I am a parent of 2 kids in the Duluth School District. My daughter goes to Myers-Wilkins, and my son is at Ordine East. So I'm here, first of all, to say thank you publicly to all of you for the job that you do as school board members and as superintendents and student representatives. So you do amazing things and invest a lot of time in our students. So thank you. And also, I'm here just because I believe in public education. I believe in the power of educating our students, and I really am so excited about the future of our city and of our students, our future leaders. We have amazing teachers and staff who work hard to ensure student success. And sorry, I don't have a lot of public speaking experience, so my voice is shaky. So I just am also here just because of that support of public schools. I was really excited to work with a lot of you on the levy passage this past fall. I'm really glad to have those first 2 levels passed. Funding is so important for our students. And so I'm really glad that we had those first. So thank you, Duluth citizens, for doing that. And then I also just wanted to express my concern when I learned about the 2019-2020 budget, just knowing that we have to make cuts, that the overall budget is lower. And the elementary school budgets, Myers-Wilkins is the school with the highest needs, and it also is being asked to make the most cuts next year. So I just wanted to express my concern about that. And just, I'm very glad that you passed the resolution last year regarding compensatory education funding. I understand that the dollars for the coming school year are associated with that. However, I ask that you would kind of remember the spirit of that resolution and kind of keep that in mind as you're moving forward with the budgeting process. So thanks for your time.
Thank you, Jessica. The next speaker is Joan Peterson, and then just to remind anyone who just came in, if you would like to still sign up, you can at the front there. Thank you.
Hello, everyone. I'm here tonight to speak to you about the upcoming Wear Orange to End Gun Violence event and June as Gun Violence Awareness Month. First of all, I appreciate and recognize the work that ISD 709 is doing around creating safe school environments with facilities, trainings, and support of mental health issues for students and staff. Our children and staff should not have to be traumatized by school lockdowns, either practice or real. Children have become sitting ducks in America. To that end, I am here from the Northland Brady United chapter, also aligned with Protect Minnesota, to highlight a few things. And the other president of my group is Mary Strufer, back there in the orange shirt. So there have been 15 school shootings since January of 2019. I would say that's 15 too many. The most recent, as you remember, was at a STEM school outside of Denver, where one student was killed and others injured. Kendrick Castillo died and was called a hero. I call him a victim. Our children are dying from gunshot injuries in astounding numbers every year in what I call a gun violence public health epidemic. So you have heard from others, Bernie Burnham and Sarah, that you've been invited to our kickoff for Wear Orange Day, which was dedicated to a 15-year-old Chicago student, Hadia Pendleton, who was shot and killed by a bullet meant for someone else, and let that sink in. Bullets are flying on our streets, they're meant for somebody, but Hadia was in the way. Just a few weeks after playing in her school band after President Obama's second inaugural parade. So the whole event was started by her friends and family. So June is also Gun Violence Prevention Awareness Month. June 21st is National Ask Day. Ask is a program for parents to ask if there are loaded, unlocked guns in the homes where children and teens play and hang out. Almost every day, a child finds a loaded gun and pulls the trigger with tragic results. More than every day, a teen uses a gun in a suicide. So I did leave some Ask brochures for you with the secretary back there. Also, I'm aware that you are going to pass a resolution, and I applaud you for that. I think it's very important that you do this. And I hope that you will all consider voting in favor of it. The Northland chapter, Moms Demand Action, and the Duluth Federation of Teachers are all co-sponsoring our event, and many people will be there, including community leaders. Mayor Larson will be reading a proclamation. So I urge you all to come. I urge you all to wear orange, and I urge you all to support the resolution. Thank you for all you do.
Thank you, Joan. Okay, is there any other speakers? Okay. We can move on then to there were no no communications that were sent to us this month, and so we'll move on to the report of the superintendent and then the school board reps. So Superintendent Grunset.
Thank you, Chair Lafleur-Kemp. And first off, thank you to all of the students from our Pathways to Teaching class. Your research projects are impressive, and I know how much work you put into them and how much time it took. And thank you for sharing them with us. We enjoyed hearing about your class, your work with the elementary students, and what you learned throughout the year. So thank you also to all the staff that support the development of this class, and to College of St. Scholastica for your partnership ever since we first started working on this program. I'm happy to hear that there are quite a few students interested in the class for next year, and hopefully that will continue, and we will have more future teachers in our midst. I want to give a brief update on the legislature. We don't know a whole lot at this point. They have continued to make some progress. The base formula agreement at this point is a 2-2 over the next biennium. And the details will be worked out in a special session, which is scheduled for Thursday. They kind of have to start all over at this point. So we are back at working with our legislators to try to get specific Duluth language into the bill and into the plans. We are so thankful for our local legislators that throughout the session they've been helpful. They've helped to talk to other legislators and bring the story of Duluth into their conversations. The special education formula that was implemented in 2016 has had negative effects on our budget since that time. Duluth is an outlier with this formula, and we continue to work with legislators to make sure that they understand that we have been negatively affected by this formula. MDE has shared our story as well, and when they have testified, and so we remain hopeful that we'll be able to address this issue in the special session. On the kind of same topic regarding our own budget, we've continued to work with building principals to develop budgets. Principals have been working with their continuous improvement teams to determine the needs of their buildings and how to best meet those needs. We have a committee of the whole meeting of the board scheduled for June 4th. That's where we'll be going over the final budget. It'll be discussed again at the regularly scheduled business committee on June 11th, and then hopefully come to a vote on June 18th for the for the regular school board meeting. If for some reason we have some more things to work out, then we would be scheduling a special board meeting before the end of the month, because that is what the statute requirement is for us to have a final budget in place by June 30th. As you've heard a few times tonight, June is Gun Violence Awareness Month. Our country experiences far too many deaths due to gun violence, as you heard some of the statistics from our speakers tonight. And the Ask campaign encourages families to ask questions before allowing children to play at someone else's house. And I know as a parent, it might feel awkward or uncomfortable to ask questions, but it is important to ask questions because our children's safety is what it's all about. So making sure that you ask if there are guns in the house, and if there are, ask how they are stored. If you're not comfortable with the answer, invite the other child to your house to play, and make sure that you're not putting your child into a situation where something unfortunate could happen. So again, there will be an event at City Hall on May 31st at 4 o'clock where the mayor and I and others will speak on the topic of preventing gun violence. I know that when you hear our students speaking, you're probably going to hear how many school days there are left, so I won't put that spoiler out there. Seniors have a few less days as graduations will be held the first week of June. And again, this year, our students have earned millions of dollars in scholarship. They are going all over the country and seeking out opportunities in so many different areas. Our students have accomplished a great deal, and we're very proud of them. Speaking of scholarships, each year in May, the Hayes Memorial Family Scholarship is awarded to a randomly selected student from Denfeld and from East. It was originally a Central Family Scholarship, and now it has been split, one for Denfeld, one for East. All of the students' names are entered into a drawing, and tonight our recipients will be chosen. So we'll be drawing the names of one person, but also alternates if for some reason a student chooses not to accept the scholarship for continuing education of their choice. The awards this year are you ready for it? $2,125 each. And so we'll be asking our student representatives to draw the names, and I believe the names from East are in the bowl first. All right, you can head on down.
You can go down too.
Yeah. I feel like we should be asking for a drum roll or something. All right. There you go.
All right, the East recipient is Sophia Kapsner. We need 2 bowls.
I know, right?
They did, 2 of them. They don't announce it.
And the Denfeld recipient is Taylor Trey.
All right, thank you so much, and congratulations to our winners tonight. That'll be a fun surprise when they are notified of that scholarship. Again, if they, for some reason, don't accept them, we have drawn alternates, and those would be announced in the case that that it didn't work out for the people who were chosen first. All right, well, after that excitement, I think we are ready for our student representative reports, and we might as well keep the same order and start with Representative Farrell from East.
It's an exciting month at East, and not only because there are 11 days of school left. Last night we had Honors Night at East, where our seniors were recognized for their academic achievements. 125 seniors are graduating on honor roll, 35 students are graduating with the 4.0 grade point average, and $2.4 million in scholarships were awarded. And now we just added $2,000 to that. Graduation will be held on June 5th at the deck. Last week was Teacher Appreciation Week, where teachers were thanked for all they do for us students. We also completed Mental Health Awareness Month at our school. This included many fun activities for the students. Also last week, students went on a field trip to the Walker Sculpture Park and Art Center and the Minneapolis Institute of Art. Students said they appreciated this opportunity as it helped them gain knowledge of career options in the art field. This month, 14 students qualified for State History Day. Also earlier this month, ABO Hounds had another successful blood drive, and the last one for the year. They collected 87 units of blood, bringing this year's total to 253 units. On Thursday this week, Orchestra is having their spring concert. This weekend, East's Destination Imagination team will be heading to Globals in Kansas. And that is all.
Thank you. Representative Natalie from Denfeld.
All right. So last month, at the very end and kind of beginning of this month, we organized a mock crash at our school to demonstrate to students the dangers of distracted driving, which included a live kind of representation of a crash in our own parking lot with students from our school participating. And then we also had a public speaker come and share a personal story of his, of losing a family member, which really created an impact among our students to make sure not to text and drive, not distract driving, and make sure to be careful on the road. Tonight, we have our senior band concert, and Friday at 7 p.m. there's a choir pop concert. We also introduced this year a new class called Act Out Loud, and they worked to produce, create, and write their very own show and performed it for us at an assembly, and also performed it after school where they had a good attendance. So that was an amazing program to encourage people to get involved with theater and participate with plays and writing their own ideas and incorporating their story. This month, people have been busy finishing up their AP tests, and students have been preparing for graduation. Seniors will be graduating on June 4th at 7 p.m. at Denfeld High School Auditorium. Our honors night is this Thursday at 7 p.m. to honor all students who have been working very hard to maintain a GPA of 3.5 or above. And the most exciting event, of course, besides the fact that there's only 11 days left, our robotics team made it to state, and there's 220 robotics teams in the state, and only 36 qualify to go to state. So it was a huge accomplishment to make it there, and they actually placed second at the state finish, our state finalists. So that was very exciting.
I knew that the 11 days was going to work in there somewhere. Seniors have a few less than that, but we hope that everyone has a great finish to their school year. Students, make sure that you're working hard, do your homework, study for those finals. You have to finish strong. Don't slack off quite yet. There are so many things to do in Duluth in the summer. We also have many programs through our summer school programs, through community education, and so many opportunities to be involved in the community. We hope that you enjoy yourself this summer, keep busy, and keep reading, and we will be here. Be watching for information to come out on our summer breakfast and lunch programs. We will be making sure that it's in the media, it's in our social media, and in our school newsletters, where you can go for school breakfast and lunch all summer long. So we will make sure that everyone gets that information very soon. And that completes the superintendent report for May.
Great. Thank you, Superintendent Grunset and Emma and Vanessa. Thank you so much. It's just always exciting to hear the many different things that are going on throughout the district, and you guys just really put it together well. And we wish you both well in your final week of classes as well. And we look forward to you joining us throughout the summer at meetings as your summer jobs and other activities allow. But we look forward to having you with us as much as you can. Okay, thank you. Okay, we are going to jump into now our standing committees, and we'll start with our education committee, and Chair Lofold, if you could do that, that would be great.
My team comes forward. That's good. I hope that at times throughout tonight's education review, that if you think that there are things we would want to add and share with our community, to turn your light on as I go through. I very seldom just really need you to clarify something, but our last education meeting was full of incredible presentations from a number of programs that you all supervise. So in my in my overview, I hope that if you think that there's something to share, please add it, either at the time we're going through it or at the end before I ask for a vote on accepting the education committee. Because again, we really had rich conversation, good presentations, lots of good information, and I couldn't possibly do it justice by being up here reviewing it for the community. So thank you. So we're going to start with our education report. This was based on the committee meeting we had last Monday, and I just want to thank Member Oswald for chairing the committee as I was traveling in Omaha with Denfeld's speech team. So sometimes I'm out of town, so we are well experienced in helping each other as a board do all the duties we're supposed to do. So thank you. And a shout out too to the Pathways teaching displays, and to the staff and leadership. And as a board, I hope we will have conversation over the next weeks and stuff about our role in making that a good program. So okay, whenever I ad lib, I kind of get off track. So we'll stick to the script here. Okay, so we started, and again, I always want to say too that we're on YouTube. We had 47 views this week, so that was good, and I can't possibly encourage more people to either attend in person on our committee meetings or watch them and respond either through email or come to our meetings tonight, because really there's a lot of great presentations, great information that we go over and learn. We're learning from our staff at the committee meetings, and sometimes we ask what's working and what isn't, or how things are going, and we're given those presentations at those committee meetings. So I would really encourage our public to attend or watch them on YouTube. So we always start our committee meetings with reports, informational items, and we start with our Assistant Superintendent Horton's report. And the purpose of this report is to provide regular updates for the Education Committee and for the board regarding teaching and learning, because that's his area of supervision for our district. And so Assistant Superintendent always shares current information regarding implementation of some district policies and district initiatives and school operations. And this month, Assistant Superintendent Horton reviewed things like that our front office staff was given some in-service about balancing security and welcoming, and that what that looks like for our front office employees. And I found that really gratifying that we're moving right along with including everyone in our safety concerns. And our front office, certainly, they're the first line of defense for our districts, and they are talented, and they love our district. They love working in the schools. They are the heartbeat of our district, so we're glad to give them in-service on safe and security. Assistant Superintendent reviewed again the importance of our grant process. We've had some other previous information about how grant processes work in our district, and now we're hoping that we're just continuing to reach out to our district, our staff, and our coaches for understanding the grant process. Assistant Superintendent talked about Navy Week, and that was kind of a conversation we all had about what can happen with the Navy coming in and working with us and being relevant and building relationships. So he talked about that. We had a report on our full-service community schools, and it's important to hear about our journey and the support for our full community service schools. Our leadership staff attended a conference and learned, shared, and came away with a strong understanding of where we are at with our community school process and how we are a very effective full-service community school as compared to other districts throughout the country. But we didn't go there just to compare ourselves and come away, patting ourselves on the back. We went there to learn, to share, to observe, and to bring back great information to continue our journey of the full community service school. Assistant Superintendent finished his report by a shout out about our anonymous gift that has made some circles in our community, but not maybe to everyone. And just a shout out to an anonymous donation for our Piedmont lunch bill or debt, and we had a donation to help eliminate or close the debt for our lunch at Piedmont. And that was the Assistant Superintendent's report. It's recommended that the school board receives this as informational. And that leads us to our next item always on our education committee, and that is our report from our curriculum director and instruction. And the purpose of this report is to provide regular updates to the education committee and to the school board regarding teaching and learning. And so Director of Curriculum and Instruction, Gail Netlin, shared with us current information regarding the status of the work and of the curriculum and instruction department. And Gail's report to us was kind of brief because the rest of our education committee concerned curriculum updates and curriculum overviews. We heard about the planning is underway for the August staff development. 11 days left, and our staff is already preparing, as they should, and I know they will, for August staff development. So Director Netlin shared that it's recommended that we receive Ms. Netlin's report as informational. And then that leads us in our committee to the informational presentations, which were curriculum surrounded. So we had an 8th grade pilot update from curriculum director Gail Netlin and our math specialist Patty Bombanek, along with Jane Jutine, and there was one other. Okay, so that was who it was. So they shared with us the pilot program that was going on at Ordine East for 8th grade math, and there was rich conversation and updates and observations. We had a lot of questions about, how we go forward with it, and listen to the YouTube. It was really well done. I don't think I have the ability to just, wrap myself and share all that went on, but the new math pilot seemed to be successful. They want to move it into 9th grade. It just seems like there's a lot of excitement and energy, and it looks like math is successful being taught in this new pilot way. And I can remember thinking when I was listening that it was more about students learning in groups and students teaching, and it, we used to call it, the sage on the stage, and that isn't the way that we know effective teaching happens. It's more a cooperative and a collaborative way. So a shout out to that math pilot update. Then we launched into the presentation that took up a large chunk, and it was the 2017-18 graduation rates and strategy presentation that you all were such a part of, and I want to thank you all for the time you gave last week and the staff that came and presented. We first heard, and all of these were, Assistant Superintendent Horton kind of prefaced this with, over the next 5 months, we are going to get presentations from all of the different overviews that we had last week as it pertains to graduation rate and the world's best workforce.
The goal areas of world's best
okay,
workforce.
The goal areas, of which graduation rate is 1.
Yes.
Yeah, okay, so our meeting last Monday, really focused on that graduation rate piece of it. And over the next 5 months, we'll hear about other goals of the world's best workforce. So, first of all, we had highlights from our graduation rate in a PowerPoint, and Dr. Lake wanted to share what we define as a 4-year graduation rate, so she kind of talked us through that. But we also, she shared with us the understanding about the 5-year, 6-year, 7-year graduation rate and how that figures into our district's graduation rate. She highlighted that 18% of our students receive special education services as part of their IEP, and it is in their goals to graduate in that 5th year, 6th year, or 7th year range, which is totally in sync with their IEP goals. And so we just spent some time understanding that. I don't think it's the first time this board has heard that information. I think it was, but it's also just a good lens for us to look at the data that we're getting and understanding then. And I think that was really Dr. Lake's really intention, is to share with us the data, but then also have to understand the different subgroups, the different numbers within the groups, and we have to understand that if we're going to understand the progress. I think I was struck by the graph that talked about 2014 and 2016 and how each, if you went into the 5-year, 6-year, 7-year, the graduation rate went up for our district, and so it's important to understand the 4-year, the 5-year, 6-year, 7-year. It's Dr. Lake also talked about the date and the reading data and the percent, and how the size of the group is being reported out plays a big factor in how that graph or dip or change can be reflected from year to year. And so that was Dr. Lake's part of our presentation, and then Assistant Superintendent gave us a huge overview of all the programs that we've got in place to help our graduation completion, that we all want every student to graduate in our district, and that is our goal. But we also know we have to have support, and we have to be intentional about that. So he gave us this whole list of some of the programs, and I'll just highlight some of them that was shared. We have a school within a school, we have Check and Connect, we have the BAR program, we have PLCs in place, we have community service schools, we have credit recovery, which is going to be reached out into our high schools as another opportunity for students, seniors especially, to recover credits. We'll also offer it here at ALC. Then we moved into Ron Lake's presentation, and he reviewed programs and partnerships going on in our district related to mental health. He highlighted the sources of strength. He updated us on a wide variety of things that are happening. The Make It Okay campaign, led by Sarah Miller. Our mental health screenings that are being increased and made more available, and just the regular training for mental health, the early interventions, the early detection. He talked about social and emotional behavior. I mean, just this whole gamut of information for us, but for our community, and that's why I think it's so important that community attends the committee meetings. We don't often get news reports in our newspaper, and frankly, I think if they just come and listen, they'll get great information. But then we had a presentation by Edie Howes, and she talked about Project Dreamcatcher for our American Indian students as a way to try to bolster their graduation rates. We heard from Jason Crane. We heard from William Howes on American Indian education and the CARE Academy that's happening at Lincoln. And finally, Brad Vietz talked a little bit about the impact of CTE on graduation rates. So how did I do, crew? I mean, it was a long presentation with lots of great stuff. So I know I could have just said we had a great presentation, but I wanted to honor you by sharing what I think I got out of it and what my board members got out of it, and just a good way to relate to, even though there's less people in the audience now, but it's still good. It's still good. And then I think, Assistant Superintendent, you just concluded this by saying the North Star Plan, we have a ways to go in all of our in our increasing our graduation rates and being successful with every student, but we are focused on growth and high achievement for all, and by 2025 we'll make our North Star goals. So thank you for that presentation. So it's recommended that all of that I just said, I know, is informational, and we receive it, right? We're good. Okay. We have 5 grant applications that are in their first stages. They're coming to us to approve that they can go forward with these grants. So we have grants from the Minnesota Department of Education on behalf of Stowe Elementary School about providing, I think, like fruits and vegetables, $13,500 by Pam Bowe. We have a grant from the Perpich Center for Arts. It was written by Director Curriculum Gail Netland and submitted to the Perpich Arts Center for $2,500 for arts leadership team and to provide leaders with professional development. We have our third grant was from the National Association for College Admissions Counseling. It was written by Jerry Sari, a counselor at Denfeld, for $750 to provide transportation to a college fair that they have in October. Our fourth grant was from the Minnesota Department of Agriculture for coolers, I think, by Pam Bowe as well, for Stowe and Lowell and Lakewood, for $4,500 to purchase dairy coolers for each school. And our last one is the Jeffers Foundation grant application for Stowe School. It was submitted by their principal, Nathan Glockley, for $500. And it will focus on the implementation of a school garden project at Stowe. So those are the 5 grants, and then the one grant is a partnership with the Duluth Public Schools with Lake Superior College and Algebra 2. And I think we had some conversation about this grant at our meeting last week, and Director Netland clarified for that. So these grants are recommended as informational. Next is our action items, and we have a policy revision. It's for our musical instrument. It's policy revised, and it's going to be renumbered 625, and it is about our change in our musical instrument rental, and we talked about it last week at committee. It is on its first reading, and so we're recommending that the Duluth School Board accept and approve policy 625 for its first reading. We have resolutions. My first resolution is Resolution E-5-19-3645. It's acceptance of grants awarded to the Duluth Public Schools. And so whereas Minnesota Statute 465.03 requires a school district to accept grants by resolution expressed in the terms prescribed by the donor in full, and whereas acceptance of the grant in accordance with the donor's terms is in the best interest of the Duluth Public Schools, now therefore be it resolved that the Duluth Public Schools does accept the below described grant from said organizations in accordance with the terms set forth within. Be it further resolved that the Duluth Public Schools wishes to extend its grateful appreciation for this for these organizations. So we have 3 grants to accept. And and you can see that in your board book. Do I have a motion? I motion this. Do I have a second?
Second. Okay, it's been moved by Member Lofold, seconded by Member Samstead. Is there any discussion? Okay, all in favor of this resolution, please say aye. Aye. Okay, motion carries. You can continue.
Second resolution to read, it's Resolution E-05-19-3646. The resolution is response to American Indian Education Resolution of Concurrence and Non-Concurrence for 2018. Whereas Minnesota Statute 124D.78 requires a school board to respond in writing within 60 days in cases of non-concurrence to each recommendation made by the American Indian Education Parent Committee and state its reasons for not implementing the recommendations. Now, therefore, be it resolved that the Duluth School Board submits the response to the American Indian Education Resolution of Concurrence and Non-Concurrence for 2018 report as the report is attached. I move Resolution E-5-19-3646. Is there a second?
Seconded by Member Kirby. Is there any discussion? Okay, Member Oswald.
Thank you. I'm going to be voting against accepting this because I feel that this is just more of the same that we've done every year. It's kind of a discussion once a year that the parents of this committee asks for certain things, and we go, yeah, well, we do some, and we could maybe do something else, but I don't feel this has a definite direction for how we can increase the achievement of our Native American and American Indian students. It is by far comprehensive. Or not comprehensive. It's leaves a lot to be desired for the confidence of teaching our students where they're not graduating, and they have the lowest graduation rates right now of all of our students, and I think we need to be more intentional in how to do it. I would hope that we can continue to work with them to create an action plan. This is much more of a discussion of this is what we'd like and this is what what we can do. But there's no sense of direction. There's no sense of action, and I'd really like to see that improve. So I'm going to vote no.
Thank you, Member Oswald. Member Sandsted.
I'm in agreement with my colleague, Member Oswald, on this. This is the fourth year I've seen this document come through, and it just feels like a little box we check off every year, and it shouldn't be that. Unfortunately, the timing this year that it's presented to us at the same time that we're having deep discussions about budget and other things, I think this deserves its own meeting and its own discussion of the process. We did hear last month from the panel of parents about how their process works, but I want to know more about how the district responses are developed and who's involved in those and what our follow-through actually is, whether or not there's any accountability with this other than the parents coming back from year to year and asking for, unfortunately, the same things, because we don't seem to be able to make any gains improving how we're providing an education to their children. So I am likewise going to be voting against this because I would like to see us put forth a real effort on this.
Superintendent Grunstedt, I know, again, we've had presentations on this process, and I think it would just be helpful to clarify, again, kind of the process that when we get how we sit down and work with the parents and the equity staff. Thank you.
As Member Sandsted said, last month we heard from the parent committee. The parent committee is the one who develops the document along with Edie House, the coordinator of American Indian Education. And then once that is presented, I sit down with Gail Netland-Freud, our curriculum coordinator, and others to see where we've improved in areas. And then we sit down with Edie and we go over it step by step as well and make sure that there's agreement between her department and the district on the things that are included in the report. So there were areas where we have made considerable gains as far as the collaboration with our curriculum specialists and providing training specific to American Indian culture and history and American Indian standards, and the opportunities that we've provided for specific cultural trainings. There were some areas that Edie shared too that they've included because they know that we've done more and they don't want to lose that what we're doing, so they want to continue that. It's a positive process that we go through. We also have our tribal consultation when we go to present to the tribe leadership on the title plan and our American Indian education plan, and we collaborate with them as well on things that we're putting in place. That's how we've increased our amount of specialized training that we provide as well. Curriculum Director Netland-Freud, did you have anything that you wanted to add? Okay.
Thank you, Superintendent Grunstead. And then Member Lofold.
So I'm just going to, kind of start like I'm a new board member and I haven't seen this document 4 times. I've seen it twice though. And as I look at the resolution, I'm not critical of our decisions or anyone's decisions to either vote or not vote for this resolution, but as I look at the resolution, I'm not so sure by accepting the resolution, we are then saying we are accepting that our Native Americans are, doing well and we have no way of improving. This is just a resolution that says we have had conversation and we are willing because it's a state requirement to have this statement passed. So I don't see, at least in my understanding of this resolution, it's just saying that we've gone through the process. We have asked our community, our parent advisory to come forward, tell us what they think is going well, what they don't think is going well. We've seen that. We know that there's areas we can improve. But the actual resolution is just saying, be it resolved that we have come forward and we have sat and had conversation about believing, that there's places we can certainly do better. And this is just a resolution that says we submit to that process. So I don't think by accepting or not accepting that we are saying, we're content or we appreciate or we support that we're doing the best we can. I think it's just a resolution that says we went through the process and we're continuing to do that. So that's my feeling about, I'm going to vote to support it, but I don't want it to be interpreted like I think that our parent advisory I support what they're asking us to do, and we will continue to work on that in good faith. Maybe if you're voting against it, you're saying that we don't think we're doing it in good faith, but I think that we've shown areas of improvement. Edie Howes was part of your graduation rate presentation with us last Monday and kind of celebrated the program called, no, it's not, well, Check and Connect is probably working in that program too, but it was the butterfly catchers, Dreamcatcher. And, I would have to think that some of our initiatives in the Ojibwe immersion is also going to, as they move forward, going to make, more of an impact of success. So I think we've made steps, and I think the resolution, I can vote to accept it because I know we're aware of our problems, we're aware of the challenges, we're aware of the successes, we're aware of the things we need improvement, and I'll support it.
Thank you, Member Lofold. I'm going to turn to Assistant Superintendent Horton.
Yes, thank you very much. Since we did have this, since we have had this conversation, I did want to add that Superintendent Gronseth and I have talked about some different things we can do to see this in place to increase student achievement. As we said that while we're working hard to support all students achieve, we try to think of what can we take from this and where can we look to do some things. So on my agenda for my next meeting with the early childhood team in the area kindergarten, we'll be looking at how we can maybe support that and if that would fit into our future needs. So we'll be having that conversation, look forward to. Today we also had a meeting with Minnesota Department of Education and Check and Connect about how we are looking to scale that up. We've seen some great results, as you've seen in some different board presentations. So we're talking about how we can expand that. And so Mr. Crane will be taking a team down to, in the next couple weeks, I believe, down to Osseo and next Wednesday to St. Osseo and St. Paul, as we look at how we can continue to use that evidence-based strategy, which has been shown to help close gaps and increase achievement or graduation rates for students. So I just wanted to make you aware of a couple next steps that we're working on. Definitely there's more to do and a lot more conversation to have, as I think we're all acknowledging, but those are some initial next steps we've talked about in the last month.
Thank you, Assistant Superintendent Horton. Member Oswald?
Thank you. I just wanted to respond to Member Lofald that that our resolution is acknowledging the response for the concurrence, but it's also approving the response. And what I am saying by voting no is I don't approve our response because I don't see the movement that I'd like to within the language.
Member Trinka?
Thank you. Yeah, and I want to thank the parent committee and all of the staff for all the work that they do on this. I know that it's a lot of work. I want to echo Member Sandstead and what she was talking about. You know, this is the second year that I've seen this, and there's just so much ambiguity that's in here around some staff being trained, but there's no specific metrics, some dollars being allocated. How do we, you know, there's language in here about continuing to reconsider class sizes. I mean, it seems like it's a lot of the same, and it's not, while we are making progress, it's not getting us the results that we need. So I will not be supporting this resolution tonight.
Member Gorham?
So what I feel like I'm hearing here tonight, and thank you, Assistant Superintendent Horton, for sharing some of the next steps. I'm seeing that a conversation's happening and that there's a response. What I'm hearing from my fellow board members is that we don't understand the extent of that response and the follow-through and how intentional is this process. I don't really know that. I feel I don't understand or know that. And surely there are others with other programs and needs in the district. But I think when we look at the data that we have, as I said in our last education committee, I think it's clear that perhaps we're trying hard, we're doing a lot of things, but we're not getting the results we want. So I guess the question and the challenge I pose is how can we look at doing better with this process, with the specific populations of students that we're called to serve? That's my question. I'm not sure. So I invite that conversation and that feedback. I'll support this moving forward for now, but I want to hear that and know that. And those are going to be my questions with regard to every group we're discussing in graduation rates, et cetera.
Thank you, Member Gorham. I just have a quick question. Is there any implications if we don't pass this resolution?
As said in the resolution, we do have 60 days to respond. It's been, I don't know how many days since the last board meeting, so we would have time to respond again, but we would need to be within the 60-day frame.
Okay, is there any further discussion? Okay, then there's been a motion to approve Resolution E E519-3646. Can I have a second? Oh, I'm sorry. Excuse me. It was seconded by Member Kirby. Okay, so all in favor of Resolution E519-3646, please say aye.
Aye.
Oppose? No. Okay, is that clear, Clerk Gorham, on the votes on that?
I think we had 4 in support and 3 opposed.
Okay. Yeah, let's do a roll call vote.
I voted in favor. Member Kirby.
Yes.
All right. Chair Lafleur-Kemp.
Yes.
Okay. Member Lofald.
Yes.
Member Oswald.
No.
Member Sandstead.
No.
Member Trinka.
No.
Okay, Chair, the resolution passes 4-3.
Okay. Thank you, Clerk Gorham, and then Member Lofold. You want to continue?
I just have a few more things. Few more things just to wrap up our Education Committee meeting last week, but thank you. We just have extended trip requests. We had one from Denfeld's Jazz Band. They went to Eau Claire. We also had an extended trip coming up for the health occupations. Our HOSA students are going to a national competition with their instructor, Miss Olson, from June 18th to 22nd. It's recommended by accepting my whole committee report that we approve the 2 extended trip requests. Part of the Education Committee that I enjoy is announcing diploma requests and celebrations. So congratulations to Valerie Dodge, Caleb Davis, Travis LaPlante, Carly Gelino, Peyton Carbo, Haley Smith, Joseph Northrup Jr., Alyssa Prudhomme, and Austin Mailing, and Margaret Nelson, and Madison Dosen, and Estonia Marie Rodriguez Hernandez. I know her, and Stephen Kopp, and Liam Idzo. Those are our graduates. It's recommended that the Duluth School Board accept and approve the diploma requests, and we congratulate them. And finally, we have a data sharing agreement with the Regents of the University of Minnesota through the Duluth campus Upward Bound, and it's recommended that the Duluth School Board accept and approve the data sharing agreement for UMD Duluth as they service our students that are in their Upward Bound program. I move the Education Committee report for May 21st, 2019.
Second.
Thank you, Member Lofold, seconded by Member... Thank you, Member Lofold, seconded by Member Trinka. And Assistant Superintendent Horton would like to make a comment.
Thank you. First of all, Board Member Lofold, first of all, thank you for just taking the time to go through that and discuss all of the different work that is being done to support our students. I really appreciate you honoring our staff in doing that. Graduation rates are one of many measures, and I think it's important to note that the work we're doing, but I also want to express my appreciation for the entire board in stating that we need to do more, and that, and especially around our just recent conversation, that we need high achievement for all students and to continue to challenge us to do that better. And I think that's important that you do that, and I appreciate that. Board Member Gorham, your conversation from our Ed Committee actually came up in our Check and Connect meeting today. We were trying to remember your exact quote. We didn't pull it up on YouTube, but in how you challenged us in that meeting, how we can support all students. So thank you for that discussion, and then we look forward to reporting back on how we're going to be helping students achieve in Duluth Public Schools.
Great, thank you, Assistant Superintendent Horton. Okay, any further discussion on the Education Committee? Okay, it's been moved by Member Lofold, seconded by Member Trinka. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Okay, any opposed? Okay, the Education Committee passes, and again, thank you, Member Lofold, for giving such a complete picture. I really can't believe you weren't there. But thank you so much. That's really important for everyone to understand the depth of the conversations and the presentations that we have. Okay, the next item on our agenda is the HR committee, and Member Kirby.
Thank you. All right, the HR committee met, and some of our reports were usual. We had staffing updates, and this includes the number of staff we have retiring this year, and I think there were that day 23 teachers and 45 total staff. And we thank them for all of their many years of service for some of them. Next, we went to our action items, and probably the one that garnered the most discussion was Policy 404, Employment Background Checks. We had postponed this definitely from a previous meeting, and so we had a further discussion about this. And I think most of the discussion revolved around whether or not a complete background check had to be made on every prospective employee before they started. And after this discussion, it was felt that some of these things, this is the case in most instances, but in some cases it's not possible, and it puts this district at a great disadvantage, or can, for other employers. Perhaps you want to speak to that a little bit, Mr. Swirsky.
We did, I believe it's on page 6, include formally some of the actions that we do take in terms of including conducting a search history from the Minnesota Public Criminal History website, the National Sex Offender Registry, and the Minnesota Meth Offender Registry. And these searches will be conducted prior to an employee's start date, and other state public record websites will be used when appropriate. So it's just it's our way of doing a check prior to our BCA checks coming back formally.
Next, we went to this is a second reading, new policy 404, and we will delete the previous policy. We discussed very briefly the Employee Right to Know program, which is a regulation concerning hazardous substances. Next, we have what happens yearly, which are 2 resolutions, the first being the termination of certified hourly staff, which is, I think we all have these copies of this before us. First is Resolution HR 5-193643. I will read that first. Be it resolved by the School Board of Independent School District Number 709, St. Louis County, Minnesota, that the employment of the following hourly teachers shall terminate effective at the end of the school day on June 7th, 2019, unless another date is indicated below, in which case the employment of the individuals shall terminate on that date. Be it further resolved that the clerk of the school board shall notify such teachers in writing before July 1st, 2019 of the termination of their employment. And there are 5 people listed. And maybe you want to talk about this again. It's primarily a housekeeping measure.
These are certified staff that work less than a 0.5 and more than 14 hours a week, which is a 0.35. It's just a formality. 4 of those names on there were on there last year, came back. Many of them return year after year. One of them was a new person that was on this year. Most likely will be back in some capacity next year.
Thank you. It's been moved by Member Kirby, seconded by Member Trinka, Resolution HR 5193643. Is there any discussion? Okay, all in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Okay, motion carries 7-0. You can go on with the second resolution.
Thank you. This is resolution HR 5193644. termination of certified probationary, that is non-tenured staff. Whereas during the first 3 years of consecutive employment, all teachers in the public schools in cities of the first class are deemed to be in a probational period of employment, during which period the school board may renew or not renew any teacher's annual contract as the school board shall see fit. The term teacher includes every person regularly employed as a principal or to give instruction in a classroom or to superintend or supervise classroom instruction or as a placement teacher and a visiting teacher. Now, therefore, be it resolved by the school board, should be of Independent School District number 709, St. Louis County, Minnesota, as follows. The employment contracts of the following probationary teachers shall not be renewed, and their employment shall terminate at the end of the school day on June 7th, 2019, unless another date is indicated below, in which case the employment of the particular teacher shall terminate on that date. And there are 2 names there. Be it further resolved, the clerk of the school board shall notify such teachers in writing before July 1st, 2019, of the termination of their employment. I move Resolution H.R. 5/193644.
Thank you. Moved by Member Kirby, seconded by Member Lofold. Any discussion on this? Okay, all in favor of Resolution H.R. 5193644, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, motion carries 7-0. And Member Kirby, you can continue.
Thank you. We have another resolution. I can bring it up here. What's resolution number H.R. 5/193647. It's a resolution authorizing school board members' attendance at the Minnesota School Board Association Superintendent Search Workshop. Resolved that Independent School District 709, St. Louis County, Minnesota, pay costs incurred as per district policy for school board members to attend the MSBA Superintendent Search Workshop in Duluth, Minnesota, date to be determined. We discussed this. I will move Resolution H.R. 5/193647.
Second.
Moved by Member Kirby, seconded by Member Oswald, and we'll have some discussion now. Member Trinka, you can go ahead.
Thank you. I appreciate that we're moving forward with this process. My request would be that we be really mindful of dates and giving people enough lead time, because summers are difficult, even though this is a priority, and a lot of us work ramps up in the summertime, and so I just want to be really mindful of people's work and personal schedules. I also would request that we have the opportunity to see the agenda ahead of time so that we can ensure that our time together is spent with the clear goals that we're looking for as a school board, and not something that just maybe is predetermined by the School Board Association, even though they are the experts in this. I just would ask for a little bit of a heads up on making sure that that workshop fits what our unique needs are at ISD 709.
Member Sandstead.
Thank you. My question is just related to this resolution specifically. It is framed as paying costs incurred for school board members to attend. I'm wondering if that's just the cost of MSBA to come and provide the workshop, because I don't imagine we're going to get hotels to attend a workshop here in Duluth. So I just want some clarification on that.
Yeah, I can clarify that. So yeah, it is to bring NSBA staff here to do the workshop for us. And we will have this workshop here in Duluth. It would include school board members as well as our HR director. And in terms of the time, of course, like all of our meetings, we will look at, do a poll to look at people's schedules. It is about a 3-hour workshop, though. And as we talked last month when we raised doing this workshop idea that it could be done in June, but NSBA could do it in July as well in terms of the generous timeline that we have to work with as well. And so what I'm hoping if this passes is that we will already tomorrow be in contact with NSBA, come up with some dates, and then get them out to find a date that will work for all of us as board members to really start the process of learning about what our role is, what our different timelines we could be working with, what are different ways we can approach superintendent search, and have us to have really our first really discussion around it. And I will, we, between Tim and I, will see about, getting an agenda ahead of time. But this is a workshop that NSBA does do and has done with many school districts around the state. So thank you. Any other questions or comments about the workshop itself? Okay. So this has been moved by Member Kirby. It has been seconded by Member Oswald. All in favor of Resolution HR 519-3647, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Okay, the resolution passes 7-0, and thank you. And just as your chair, I look forward to us having a really thoughtful, thorough process, and this being the first step in our superintendent search. And I really appreciate, everyone's input in both when we have it, but also in attendance at it. So thank you for supporting this resolution. Member Kirby, you can go on with the rest of your...
Thank you. The only other item was a discussion of nepotism, which there was nothing new to present, and it was not felt to be urgent, so we deferred that to a future meeting. So we did not discuss nepotism, but we will. And that was it. So we did discuss the superintendent hiring memo, and we just discussed that now. So I move the acceptance of the Human Resources report.
Okay, it's been seconded by Member Oswald. Did you have another comment, Member Trinka? Your light went on. Okay.
Before we approve this, I just want to thank the HR staff for the work on the policy around background checks. I know we kind of put you through the ringer on some of those discussions, and so I really appreciated the explanation that you provided at the HR committee meeting and the additions that are made explicitly in this policy, because I think that it sends a strong message to our community that, of course, the safety of our students is top priority. So thank you, and Linda, for your work on this. I appreciate it.
Okay, thank you, Member Trinka, for those comments. So it's been moved by Member Kirby, seconded by, I think Member Oswald had already seconded it. And so all in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Okay, motion, HR committee passes 7-0. And now we'll move on to the business committee and Member Trinka.
Thank you. I, too, must extend my gratitude to Member Oswald for running this meeting. We had her running circles last week, so thank you for taking the leadership to run the business committee meeting last week. I appreciate that. There was a lot of really robust discussion. I'm going to go in order of the committee, not in the order of the way that the meeting went, even though I think that's like the best part was what the meeting started with. But I'm actually going to ask CFO Erickson if you wouldn't mind. You gave a really great summary at the committee meeting about APUs and about where we are in the budgeting process, and I wonder if you would just be willing to speak to that a little bit, especially as we see some of the numbers change and why, especially with student enrollment, why those changes occur. I think those are important details for the public to know.
Go ahead.
Thank you. In the APU report that was included in the packet, you can see that our estimates are actually down from April, and part of this has to do with the volatility of our 11th and 12th grade enrollments, and we talked about that in committee. We are hoping then that these will stabilize, and we've been working with our Mars folks since that meeting to make sure that our estimates as we get prepared for budgeting and doing our final budget for fiscal year 20, much of the work that we have to do is based on estimates, and we have to use the information we have now to project into the future. And so we are currently projecting a smaller ADM estimate for fiscal year 20, but this last report got a little bit closer to where we had projected, so we will be continuing to review that. And again, if you're looking at the sheet that has the three charts with the blue and red bar graphs, you can see again that the high school enrollments, it can take many students to equal an ADM in high school because we have many students who are coming in and out of the district. They have multiple options for enrollment, so they may be not registered full-time at the district, where then our elementary students have a little bit more stability. So as we watch those and we watch those trends grow, we can see that it may take up over 2 students to generate 1 ADM in many cases. So again, this is something that's very critical to the budget process, so we do have to monitor these very closely. So I appreciate the opportunity to clarify.
Thank you for that. I appreciate, as always, I love the charts and graphs, and I know that you love them more than any of us sitting up here probably combined do. But I appreciate you walking us through that because this time of year is really volatile with student numbers, and that does make a big impact as we look at budget dollars. So thank you for that. Were there any comments that you wanted to make on the current budget or financial statements? They're pretty straightforward. Okay, thank you. Next, we discussed fundraisers, and I continue to be impressed by the creativity of the schools and the students and the groups with what they use to do for fundraisers. As Member Oswald brought up during the committee meeting, the Denfeld baseball team is selling discount cards, and they've raised almost $11,000. So good on them for being innovative and identifying additional opportunities to generate dollars for their programs. We then went on to, it's that time of the year where we're looking at renewing a number of contracts that are relatively standard for school districts. So the first one that was discussed was a change from the Minnesota Department of Education in the cost for for adults to receive meals at the schools, and so those numbers that have been informed by USDA have increased to $2.30 for breakfast and $4.05 for lunch. And if you've eaten lunch or breakfast at any of our schools, it's the best deal in town as far as I'm concerned. So that was briefly discussed. We then moved into bids, RFPs, and quotes. I think there were a number of references to milk over the course of our different committee meetings, which I thought was interesting. But looking at a new food service distributor, again, based on the bidding process that is standard to the district. We also looked at a bid for dairy products for children nutrition. And then we looked at bids for PRI circuits, DID service numbers, and other calling services. So all of those were discussed. Again, all of these went out for bid publicly, and we'll be recommending that we move forward with vendors based on how their bids fall into alignment with the needs of the district, as well as certainly being fiscally responsible. And then the last RFP that we discussed was copier service contract. We didn't have any new quotes, no new policies and regulations, or contracts. We do have a consistent placeholder on the agenda to look at leases, and there were none this month. So with that, I will move into the resolution section of the agenda. And so I'm going to start with Resolution B-5-19-3648, acceptance of donations to Duluth Public Schools. Whereas Minnesota Statute 465.03 requires a school district to accept donations by resolution expressed in the terms prescribed by the donor in full. And whereas acceptance of the donations in accordance with the donor's terms is in the best interest of the Duluth Public Schools, now therefore be it resolved that the Duluth Public Schools does accept the below described donations from said organizations in accordance with the terms set forth herein. Be it further resolved that the Duluth Public Schools wishes to extend its grateful and sincere appreciation to these various individuals and organizations. So I move Resolution B-5-19-3648.
Second.
Okay, it's been moved by Member Trinka, seconded by Member Lofold. Is there any further discussion? Okay, all in favor of Resolution B-5-19-3648, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, motion carries 7-0. You can continue on, Member Trinka.
Great. Our next resolution is to look at the support for Stowe Elementary School forest designation, and this really was, I think, the highlight of the meeting, and I think that Avery deserves a star in the mail for coming as an elementary school student to share with us her experiences in geocaching and planting flowers and tracking animals and mucking the pond. I wanted to say swamping the pond. That's not the same thing. And so we thank Mr. Gokley and the grad student from UMD, Leslie, who have been doing a significant amount of work out at Stowe in order to get that school forest designation. They've also been working in partnership with a number of organizations in Gary, New Duluth, as well as the YMCA. And so I do want to promote that on the last day of school, Stowe is having a big picnic to celebrate hopefully the launch of the school forest designation, as well as to dedicate the dog park in honor of Officer Haas. And they're going to have food and celebration and a lot of community organizations who are going to be there. So that was a really exciting presentation and fun to see all of the student-driven activities that are behind that. So with that explanation, I would like to move Resolution B-5-19-3649, whereas the School Board of Independent School District 709 recognizes that a school forest would have a positive impact on students, teachers, parents, and the community, where students would learn a variety of subjects and have a place that enhances an appreciation of natural resources and heightens community pride and involvement. And whereas Stowe Elementary School parents, staff, and community members wish to begin the process of establishing the Stowe School Forest as depicted on Exhibit A, now therefore be it resolved that the School Board of Independent School District 709 supports the establishment of the Stowe School Forest, an outdoor classroom comprising of approximately 17 acres in the southwest quarter of Section 3, Township 48, Range 15. And then there's a list of blocks behind that fit underneath that under that designation. So be it further resolved that the Board of Independent School District 709 supports enrollment of said school forest in the Minnesota DNR School Forest Program for educational purposes. I move Resolution B-5-19-3649.
Okay, it's been moved by Member Trinka, seconded by Member Gorham. Is there any further discussion?
I would just like to thank the parents and the staff who have done so much, and the community, the Gary community that has done so much work. From what I understand and from what our chair shared, the amount of time and energy it takes to go into getting this designation is really significant, and they did that. It was a very organic, community-driven event with strong support from the school district. So I think that this is a really exciting opportunity.
Yep. Thank you so much, Member Trinka. And I was just going to make one comment that just really more for the public again, that we're very fortunate to have at our elementary schools this designated school forest status also at Homecroft, at Congdon, at Lester Park, at Lowell, at East High School. And am I missing any of our other schools? And Lakewood Elementary. So we look forward to our schools continuing to grow school forest designation and work together with the many community partners. So any other comments on this? Okay. So all in favor of Resolution B5193649 Stowe School Forest. Please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, resolution carries 7-0, and Member Trinka, you can go on.
Thank you. We had a second presentation from a gentleman whose name I forgot to write down with Skyward Transitions. And this will be coming up again at the next business committee meeting, but it is exciting. It's really exciting, finance and HR software. And ultimately, it sounds like the pros to this are it saves us money, that this company has over 40 years of experience, and 150 districts run that product in Minnesota. And so it also would provide a lot of resources to our finance staff if you ever have good colleagues who you can call to ask questions. That's a really positive thing. So I look forward to furthering that discussion next month. We had a number of informational items, expenditure contracts. We had no renewal of contracts, no cost contracts, revenue contracts, or change orders signed. As always, Mr. Spooner gave a very thorough facilities management and capital project status report. And one piece that I would like to highlight in that is just the amount of work that his team has had to put in additionally because of the crazy weather that we've been having. And so the additional snow plowing and additional floor cleaning and a lot of additional work that they've had to put in. So a big thanks to our facilities staff for keeping our schools clean and safe. The other thing that I actually would like Mr. Spooner to just briefly talk about, because you did get very excited about it during the committee meeting, is the results of the radon testing. And I think it's important, especially in the way that you framed it, why we're doing it, how well we did, and what the implications of that are.
Thank you, Member Trinka, and I too get excited about your report on radon, so go ahead, Mr. Spooner.
Sure, Member Trinka, Member Loeffler, members of the board. We conducted radon testing this year, and currently radon testing is not required by MDH or EPA. It's identified as a best practice, but I feel that radon will go the same way that lead testing has gone, and it's going to be required, so we felt best to do so right now and see where we stand. We did 963 tests, and they all fell below the 4 picocuries per liter, and except for 4 tests which were slightly above. And when you get tests that are above the action level, that means that you have to do a different type of monitoring, a continuous radon monitoring with a monitor that's placed in each room. So we did 4 of those, and they came out really low, so really good. So in essence, our district has completed radon testing. We're compliant with MDH and EPA regulations. And the report now has gone to you. It will go to the state, and we're compliant until the statute or the next testing period arrives.
Thank you. And Member Trinka, you can continue.
Yes, thank you. One other piece so we did, of course, discuss the updated preliminary budget information. That was a verbal update, and I just want to remind everyone about the June 4th Committee of the Whole meeting, where we will be discussing in depth, I would recommend people bring caffeine, what the proposed budget is. Part of the trick of all of this is we're also waiting to hear from the legislature on some pretty significant legislation that would impact our budget numbers. And so whether or not we'll have that information by then, unless they go into special session, we'll see, but fingers crossed. So I know that puts the finance staff in a difficult position because you're having to do a number of pro formas with a number of different situations. And so we thank you guys for that, for all of the extra work that you're putting in. It sounds like it's maybe taking a toll on your vocal cords. So thank you for that. Can you remind me the meeting time on June 4th?
4 o'clock. Yeah, and just a reminder, it's from 4 to 5 because then we go on to a graduation. Thank you. 4:30 to 5:30. And then we go on to a graduation. Thank you.
4:30 to 5:30 here, Committee of the Whole. I would encourage everyone to come. And then we, based on state statute, are required to pass the budget in June. And so there may be additional meetings if need be, but we're hoping that won't be the case. So for future items, the adoption of the FY20 budget will happen in June. In June, we will also be getting a presentation on cost to upgrade this building, and we're hoping, the board members are all hoping that includes a very thorough tour. We'll be discussing in July the FY21 10-year capital facilities plan, so I can't wait to see that, Mr. Spooner. We'll be discussing the annual review of grants and donations, property updates, and policy updates. So with that, I move the business committee meeting from, from May 14th. Thank you.
Moved by Member Trinka, seconded by Member Oswald. Any further discussion? And Member Oswald, I see your light on. Any other? Okay, go ahead.
Do you want me to move the motion or remove
no,
the
it's been moved by members.
No, I mean, do you want me to pull it? Sorry. Or can I just talk to my point?
Yeah, go ahead and talk to your point.
On page 42 in the expenditure contracts is the contract for the ALC graduation ceremony that we were just talking about. And that lists the start time of commencement at 6:30, and yet on our schedule it says 6 o'clock. I would like to know what time to show up.
Okay.
We will look into that and make sure everybody has the right time.
Thank you.
And when I say we, I mean Melinda.
Melinda, we will look forward to an email from you tomorrow. Thank you. Any further discussion on any items on the business committee? Okay, so the business committee has been moved by Member Trinka, seconded by Member Oswald. All in favor of the business committee report, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, the business committee passes 7-0. Thank you. Okay, we just have a couple other items here, and the next one is the special resolution we've been hearing about through some of our community speakers, and I'm actually bringing this resolution forward. So I think, again, we've heard many reasons why as a district and as a school board we should be thoughtful about gun violence, and so I'm just going to read through this resolution. I know I had a couple board members that have approached me about just a little bit of wordsmithing, and that can happen in the discussion period. But I move resolution SP 5193650, resolution declaring the first Friday in June to be National Gun Violence Awareness Day in the Duluth Public Schools. This resolution declares the first Friday in June to be National Gun Violence Awareness Day in the Duluth Public School District to honor and remember all victims and survivors of gun violence, and to declare that we as a country must do more to reduce gun violence. Whereas every day 100 Americans are killed by gun violence, and on average there are nearly 13,000 gun homicides every year. And whereas Americans are 25 times more likely to be killed with guns than people in other high-income developed countries. And whereas protecting public safety in the communities they serve is the district's highest responsibility. And whereas support for the Second Amendment rights of law-abiding citizens goes hand in hand with keeping guns away from dangerous people with dangerous histories. And whereas in January 2013, Hadida Pendleton, a teenager who marched in President Obama's second inaugural parade and was tragically shot and killed just weeks later, should be now celebrating her 22nd birthday. And whereas to help honor Hadia and the 100 Americans whose lives are cut short and the countless survivors who are injured by shootings every day, A national coalition of organizations has designated June 7, 2019, the first Friday in June, as the 5th National Gun Violence Awareness Day. And whereas the idea was inspired by a group of Hadea's friends who asked their classmates to commemorate her life by wearing orange. They chose this color because hunters wear orange to announce themselves to other hunters when out in the woods, and orange is a color that symbolizes the value of human life. And whereas anyone can join this campaign by pledging to wear orange on June 7th, the first Friday in June in 2019, to help raise awareness about gun violence. And whereas we renew our commitment to reduce gun violence and pledge to do all we can to keep firearms out of the wrong hands and encourage responsible gun ownership to help keep our children safe. Now therefore be it resolved that the Duluth School Board declares the first Friday in June 7, 2019 to be National Gun Violence Awareness Day in the Duluth Public Schools. We encourage all schools to support their local communities' efforts to prevent the tragic effects of gun violence and to honor and value human lives. Do I have a second? Seconded by Member Sandstead. Is there any discussion? And I know Member Kirby had a couple wordsmithing there, so go ahead, and then I'll call on you, Member Trinka.
These are pretty minimal. I fully support this. I was at the, get it here, the third whereas. Whereas protecting public safety in the communities they serve is the district's highest responsibility. I don't want to be nitpicky, but I'm not sure it's our highest responsibility. I would just say a significant responsibility. It says the same thing. That would be one suggestion. And the last thing was, in the last sentence, we encourage all schools to support their local communities' efforts to prevent the tragic effects of gun violence and to honor and value human lives. I would just cut it off, either cut it off at, say, gun violence, period, or to honor and value their lives, because we're talking specifically about people who lost their lives to gun violence, not general human lives. So little things, but. So you could just instead of value their lives instead of human lives. And then it's not our highest priority, but it's our highest, what does it say, our
district's highest.
Yeah.
Highest responsibility. Well, maybe not. We have lots of them, but I would say it's a significant one. That's all.
Member Kirby, based on our earlier conversation, I thought for that first whereas protecting public safety in the communities they serve is a high priority of the district. And does that sound good, everyone? Okay, and then taking into consideration the last piece, we encourage all schools to support their local communities' efforts to prevent the tragic effects of gun violence, and kind of leave it at that. People comfortable with that? Okay, great. Thank you. Member Trinka, your comments?
I have one question and one comment. My question is, because we have specific dates in here, like June 7th, the first Friday of June in 2019, does this mean that this resolution only lasts for a year?
I did have a similar question to some of the people who brought this forward, and because this is a coalition effort, and it may change a little bit, this resolution, next year, and so at this point, rather than, we want to keep it specific to this year, kind of similar to the Mental Health Awareness Month that we did last month as well. So, sure. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
So my comment is in the 4th whereas, support of the Second Amendment rights of law-abiding citizens go hand in hand with keeping guns away from dangerous people with dangerous histories. I think that that's is part of a false narrative that it's not always dangerous people with dangerous histories. We heard earlier about kids who have access to guns that because they just find a gun in a household. So maybe that's a little too nitpicky, but I think as we're talking about the discussion overall, it's broader than just pointing a finger at quote-unquote dangerous people. And so I don't know if this resolution has to exactly match the coalition resolution. If that's the case, I'm supportive. Otherwise, I would like to strike that.
I did speak with, again, the folks who brought this forward to me, and we can tweak it as long as we're not changing the spirit of it. So we can tweak some of the language to language we're comfortable with.
I think it can just say something, support for the Second Amendment rights of law-abiding citizens goes hand in hand with gun violence awareness. Or something along those lines. It doesn't make it about dangerous people.
Okay. So unless anyone has something different, whereas support for the Second Amendment rights of law-abiding citizens goes hand in hand with keeping guns away.
I have a suggestion.
Okay, great. Oh, I'm sorry. Okay. I'll start with Member Sandstead.
I think it was mentioned earlier in terms of responsible gun ownership in the ask at playdates movement sort of thing. And so I would suggest that we say, whereas support for the Second Amendment rights of law-abiding citizens goes hand in hand with responsible gun ownership. Then you're, okay.
Okay, are people comfortable with that then? Goes hand in hand with responsible gun ownership. Do you want to add to that, Member Oswald?
I'm in favor of what Member Sands suggested. I was just going to point out we could just end it after citizens with a period, but putting responsible gun ownership in there is fine with me too.
So let's add, it sounds like there's agreement with responsible gun ownership, goes hand in hand with responsible gun ownership. So is that good? Okay. Any further discussion or comments on this? Okay. Member Trinka?
This will be quick. I promised I wasn't going to talk too much tonight. I just really want to commend the district for taking this stance. I think it's really powerful. I think it's powerful that we're doing it in coalition with really passionate work that is happening across the community. So I'm really, really proud to support this resolution.
Okay, great. Okay, any further comments? Okay, I just want to make one personal comment too, being I brought it forward, but over 10 years ago, I had the opportunity with my 5th grade daughter, who's 30 now, to go on a bus out to Washington, D.C. with thousands of other people for the first kind of March on Washington, Mother's Day March on Washington, and it was very moving, and this issue is very near and dear to me for many reasons, and I'm just so grateful for the work that members of our community have been doing, some of the speakers we heard tonight, just to continue to raise awareness, and particularly raise awareness with parents on some things we can do, such as the Ask campaign and other issues. So thank you, Board, for taking this resolution seriously and supporting it and being very thoughtful. I know personally for me it's a very important resolution and to take tonight as well. So it's been moved by myself, seconded by Member Sandstead. Any further discussion? Okay, all in favor of Resolution SP 5193650, please say aye. Aye. Okay, motion carries 7-0. Thank you so much. Okay, and then we've heard about the June 4th meeting. Next week there are no other meetings on our schedule. I do want to mention a reminder that on Thursday, May 30th, there is an early childhood celebration at Clyde that we all got invitations for, and so if you can attend that to support our early childhood programs. And then the only other just kind of general comment I have is this weekend is Memorial Weekend. We have Monday off, and we hope our staff enjoy that extra day off, and I hope all of us take the time to think about what Memorial Day is all about. Congdon School celebrated with a Veterans Day program yesterday that was very moving, and was also a wonderful reminder of what the long weekend is about as well. So any other questions or comments before we have a motion to close the meeting? Motion to adjourn by Member Trinka. Is there a second? Seconded by Member Sandstead. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Okay. Motion carries 7-0, right? Have a great long weekend.